You are listening to One Happy Podcast, episode 94.
You know, all the things that Aruba offers probably are on someone's must-have list that could certainly be highlighted for them to visit Aruba.
Bon dia and welcome to One Happy Podcast, the officially unofficial podcast of the island of Aruba. As always, I'm your host, Curtis Robinson, aka Aruba Kurt, and I want to welcome you to the show. Now, today I'm being joined by a travel designer who specializes in providing picture-perfect destination weddings and fairy tale honeymoons all over the world. However, she is also a first-time Aruba vacationer. So, she was just recently on the island on a familiarization trip, which is where travel professionals such as herself gets acquainted with the island. And she's here to tell us all about that experience. So this is a pretty cool episode because not only do we get the perspective of a travel professional, but also that of a first-time Aruba visitor. So there's an interesting contrast working there. Now remember, this was not a vacation, but this was a trip to familiarize herself with Aruba. So her perspective is a little different than the average vacationer, but there's still lots of information that you can get from this interview. So without any further ado, One Happy Podcast would like to welcome to the show travel designer Beth Johnston. Hey Beth, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great. Kurt, how are you?
I'm great. And welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me for this interview.
Well, thank you for having me.
I think you're my first ever travel designer on the show, so this should be pretty interesting.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah. So let's start by you telling me exactly what a travel designer is.
Well, actually, in the old days, we were called travel agents, but we've kind of moved away from that. Back in the day, all travel agents all people had to go to a travel agent to get their tickets for their airline. And we don't do that so much anymore. It's all online. So we have become more specialized, and a lot of travel designers now specialize in certain niches. And that's what I do. I'm a destination wedding and honeymoon travel designer. So I create trips for people that are either going on a honeymoon or going on a destination wedding. I handle all of the travel arrangements for them and help them connect up with the proper resorts and destinations and people that need to handle all of their wedding arrangements and honeymoon extras. So that's pretty much what I do in a nutshell. I do handle other travel, but that's my specialty.
That sounds pretty awesome because vacations already provide like lifetime memories, but the vacations that you handle are the most important ones that a couple are going to take.
Absolutely, and that's the whole reason that I got into it. I had my own destination wedding, and after having such a wonderful experience, I decided that I wanted to provide that type of fairy tale for other couples. So that's what put me into the business.
Nice. So let's get a little bit into your Aruba story. As a travel designer, you can visit, anywhere you want to go. There's so many destinations on your plate. So what brought you to Aruba for this trip?
So actually, I was looking, I actually have a honeymoon couple booked in September to Hawaii, but I was looking for other options for hurricane season. A lot of weddings and honeymoons happen during hurricane season. And so a lot of the Caribbean resorts could be affected by that type of weather. And I was looking for something that I could offer to my clients that would be outside of that hurricane belt. And Aruba came up. So I was in contact with Kim Riddle of the Aruba Tourism Authority. And they were actually having a destination wedding fam trip in October, and I wanted to go on that one. However, that one was full, so I ended up in June on their wellness fam and FAM is familiarization trip, which just means that we go and check out different resorts, different excursions, and kind of scope out the area for so we can sell it to our clients.
Right. So you get like a taste of everything.
We get a taste. Now, a lot of people think we just travel around for free, and that's actually not true.
Mm-hmm.
we have to pay. I'll bet it is a discount,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not quite as expensive. And we are busy. We are nonstop visiting different resorts and doing different things, which is great. We get a lot of information, and I've been working on a couple blog posts about Aruba.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
But it's not a true vacation because you are working.
And my poor hubby, he has to sit at home and say, "Oh, you're shipping off here today. What about me?"
Yeah, jealousy definitely sets in.
Uh-huh.
So what would a typical day be like on one of these trips?
We start pretty early in the morning. We get up around 8, have some breakfast either at the resort we're staying at or at another resort. They usually have a tour company that buses us around to the different resorts and locations, and they offer different things. We did, on this fam trip, we had dinner one place with yoga on the beach at sunset. We had... oh my gosh, we had a breakfast at the Ritz. Just fun, different activities and excursions at different places. So we made some Aruba, or we made some aloe paste at one of the stops as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of, it's busy.
Yeah.
We are out the door at 8 and back at 8 or 9
Oh, wow.
in the evening. Yeah.
Nice. It sounds like a lot of fun, but it definitely
It's exhausting, yes.
Right, yeah, it's not the relaxation that you think about.
Yes, comfortable shoes are a must.
Right. Now, you mentioned Aruba being, outside the hurricane belt. That's definitely one of the big draws of the island is the constant weather. You always have great weather there.
It's perfect. And the other draw for me, and for a lot of my clients, are the beaches. Mm-hmm. Aruba has some of the top beaches in the whole world.
Yes, definitely. So was this your first time in Aruba?
It was my first time.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's interesting. So what were your first thoughts? Okay, so you collect your baggage and everything at the airport. You step outside. What's the first thing that you think?
Let me back up just a hair.
Okay.
The first thing that happened was I got to the airport on Sunday. We were going from Sunday to Thursday. I got to the airport Sunday morning for my flight from Detroit to Atlanta, where I connected then to fly on to Aruba. Mm-hmm. And my mother had been admitted to the hospital, and so it had been kind of a rough weekend, and I was leaving my brother in charge because I already had this trip planned. I get to the airport, mechanical problems on my plane, and it was canceled, and I missed going to Aruba on Sunday because they only had, my airline only had one flight to Aruba a day. So, despite being extremely upset because I missed a whole day, I did get in on Monday, repeat the next day, Monday, got up, got to the airport, made the connections, got to Aruba, stepped off the plane. It was very easy to go through customs, and I didn't have any problems there at all. Got out, very arid and dry, almost to me like Arizona here in the U.S., which when you're thinking of the Caribbean, you don't necessarily think of that type of climate. So that was different than I was used to on other Caribbean islands. But nonetheless, it was great. Got out, got my transfer to the hotel that we were staying at. The hotel that we were staying at was Brickell Bay Beach Club. They bid out for rooms for us to stay at on these fam trips, and most of the resorts were booked up. Okay. Which says a lot for Aruba and its tourism, that they were all busy in June. So we did stay at Brickell Bay, which was a very nice, quaint little place kind of just off Palm Beach.
Yeah, it's got a great location as far as being able to get to restaurants and everything.
Absolutely. So the room was nice, and checked in, and then met up with my peeps. I missed the snorkeling trip.
Oh.
They were all on a catamaran, and so they all came back, and then we headed to dinner that night at the lovely Ocean Z in Aruba.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Well, let me back up to Brickell Bay because I've never had a guest on that stayed there. Can you describe the hotel a little bit?
So Brickell Bay is a small kind of, I would say, 3-star, just a cute, economical little restaurant. A little resort. They have a small spa. They have a pool. I went right down to the pool once I got there because everybody else was gone, and had a drink at the pool and hung out. It's nothing fancy, but it was very comfortable.
Right.
They were very responsive. They had no coffee makers in the rooms, which I'm a coffee drinker in the morning, and so I mentioned that to the manager one of the mornings, and the next morning down in the lounge, down in the where you check in,
the front desk area.
Yeah, they had put out coffee for us for the guests. So yeah, they were very responsive.
Very cool.
And have a cute little restaurant there too.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and another place that you mentioned that I've never had a guest talk about is Ocean Z. So can you explain what Ocean Z is?
Oh my gosh. When we pulled up to Ocean Z, it's one of these boutique resorts, upscale. The owner greeted us, very personable. They are sort of new, I think. I think they're not, they haven't been around as long.
No, definitely not.
I believe that they have 13 rooms, and they have the best food. The rooms are very upscale, luxurious. I think it was supposed to be somebody's residence at one point, and then they switched it over and made it into this boutique hotel. The owner, Eva Zissou, is wonderful. She has a boutique there, clothing boutique, where she makes her own clothes. I actually bought a shirt there and used it in a photo shoot that I was doing in Aruba.
Nice.
And it was just upscale all the way. They will take you down to the beach. They will transfer you down to the beach. And they will bring chairs for you. They will bring a picnic lunch for you. It's beautiful. I think breakfast is included in their rates, and I would call them affordable luxury.
Right.
I'm really hoping to book a small destination wedding there or honeymoon couple there. I would love to go back and stay there sometime. It was awesome.
Yes, we've driven past it so many times, and I've always wondered what it's like on the inside.
It's gorgeous. It really is.
Nice. So what are some other places that you visited on that strip?
So we did both strips. I know your area is kind of divided for resorts in the low rise and the high rise. High rise is mostly down on Palm Beach area, and the low rise is mostly Eagle Beach. Both beaches are very pretty. I enjoyed both beaches. We did quite a few. We did, so after, Ocean Z, the next day we went to Aruba Marriott, Hilton, Bakuti and Tara, Ritz was the following day, Holiday Inn, Devian Tamarin. They also visited Amsterdam Manor and Manchego Beach Resort along with the reuse the day that I missed. Okay. So I got information on them, but I didn't get to see them firsthand.
Yeah, you hit pretty much every place.
We did. We really did hit them all.
Hey, if you're going to become familiar with Aruba, that's the way to do it.
Right. I think the biggest surprise for me was probably the Holiday Inn. I called my husband one day and I said, "Hey, he says, where are you going today?" I said, "Oh, we're going to the Holiday Inn." He goes, "The Holiday Inn?" I said, "What?" I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Who knows?" So we got there and we were actually late getting there. They had a lunch for us, but they were so gracious and fixed up a lunch for us after the fact. And it was really a nice resort. A lot of I could see a lot of families headed there as an option. I think it's a reasonably priced place. That's also one of those that, I was impressed with the rooms and the beach area and the pools. It was a lot of fun It looked
Yes.
like a lot of fun for the people.
Yeah, Holiday Inn is one of those places that it used to get a lot of flack, but it was recently renovated. So that's why
Right.
everything's updated and looks great.
Right. Yeah, I was impressed.
And as far as Palm Beach goes, it's probably the most affordable on Palm
Right.
Beach. It's got
Right.
a great
Yeah.
location.
It does. It really does. I think my next favorite was Bakuti and Tara.
That's awesome.
That one is lovely. It
Yes,
really
definitely.
is.
And how about that beach that it sits on?
Oh my gosh. So we went there and we had this yoga, sunset yoga on the beach, which
Hmm.
was awesome. And they provided a dinner for us and everything afterwards. And it was gorgeous. And I loved it so much that I had scheduled a photo shoot with one of your local photographers that I found down there. And I said, we were supposed to meet on Palm Beach, and I said, hey, listen, can we meet at Bakuti and Tara?
Hmm.
And she said, absolutely. And she even came and picked me up and took me back up there because, I didn't have a ride.
Right.
And the photos turned out just beautifully. I mean, there's really that white sand, that turquoise water.
Hmm.
It was just gorgeous,
Yes.
gorgeous.
For my money, that's the best stretch of beach on the island of Aruba.
I totally agree with you, and that's why probably those resorts do as well as they do that are right along there.
Hmm. Yeah. Bakuti is definitely an incredible resort.
And the owner is awesome. He came and went on the tour with us and talked to all of us and was very, very personable as well.
Nice. That's always good to hear.
Yeah.
So, how about restaurants? Did you guys get to sample from a lot of different restaurants?
Most of the restaurants, the first night that everybody was there on Sunday, they could go out and try a restaurant on their own. Because I wasn't there, I didn't get that opportunity.
Hmm.
Most of the places that we ate were in the resorts at their
Uh-huh.
restaurants. So I did. I mean, the food was excellent at all of the places that we ate. I can't say I had a bad meal. We
Hmm.
had breakfast at the Ritz. We had dinner at Bakuti. We had dinner at Ocean Z. We had lunch at Holiday Inn. I
Hmm.
think we had lunch one other place too. I think it might have been. Was it the Hilton or the Marriott? One of those. We had lunch there.
Right.
They also took us on the Palm tours. Took
Hmm.
us on a 3-hour tour of the island, which was really nice.
3 hour tour
And
always reminds me
a
of Gilligan.
3-hour
Yeah.
tour, I know, doesn't it? 3-hour tour.
Right.
Um, and then first class experience, which is it's kind of like I'm trying to equate it to when I went to Jamaica, they have Club Mobe, which is where they kind of pick you up at the airplane when you get off and
Hmm.
take you in a faster route through customs. That's what this first class experience is.
Okay.
So they kind of introduced us. We went to the airport and got to go see their lounge and watch how they take you through the customs and through getting off the plane and sort of just make it easier for clients when they have a delay at the airport
Right.
or whatnot. So
Or if you just don't want to experience the hassle.
that's right. That's right. Absolutely.
Sounds like a pretty cool service.
Yeah.
So, what were your expectations for the restaurants in Aruba before you arrived?
I had heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Aruba is really a foodie's paradise. That the
Definitely.
restaurants there are awesome. And actually, when I was talking with Ewald, he's the owner of the Bakuti
Hmm.
and Tara, I said, well, what about most islands have all inclusives, right? There's only really one all inclusive on Aruba, and that's the Devian Tamaran. However, when I talked to Ewald, he said, why would we do all inclusive when we have these restaurants to choose from on the island? And I said, well, that's a good point. So I think that they offer like a plan where you can buy a certain amount of meals that you can use at certain restaurants that are on the island as
Okay.
well. So yeah, I've heard wonderful things. I don't know if it's the Dutch heritage or or what, but I know you have about 90 nationalities living on Aruba. And so there must have been, I mean, there's something for everybody.
Definitely. Yeah, I think there's like 300 different restaurants or something.
Right. They gave me a guide that's, pretty thick of all the different restaurants and
Hmm.
what for.
Yeah, yeah, you can definitely find something for everybody in your group, no matter how large the group.
Sure.
So you mentioned the excursions, the Palm, the Palm tours.
Yes.
So what exactly did you do on that one?
So they took us to the California
Mm-hmm.
Lighthouse, the Alto Vista Chapel,
Nice.
the Natural Bridge, Casabari
Casabari
Rock
Rocks.
Formation?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then the Allo Museum, which I thoroughly enjoyed visiting the Allo Museum. I would have loved a tour of the Balashi beer
Mm-hmm.
factory too, but that wasn't included.
Yes. Yeah. So that's not the original Natural Bridge. That one collapsed. So
Right. So they said that one collapsed, and then did they make a new one, or is that like a natural one that was next to it?
I believe it's the natural one that was next to it.
I think they call it Baby Bridge or
Right.
something, I believe. So, yes, I saw where it collapsed. I think, was it 2005 or something that it
Right
collapsed?
around
And
then.
yeah, so, right, that must have been something
Yeah, I'm
to
glad I
have
wasn't
that.
there for it.
Right, because that was a huge one that, I mean, looking at the picture of it, it was pretty ginormous.
Hmm. So what you think about the other landmarks that you hit, like the Casabari Rocks and those places?
I did climb up. I did climb up to. I have a little bit of an aversion to heights, but
Hmm.
I did climb all the way to the top. The view was gorgeous. The top has this really low little like fence thing at the top, and
Hmm.
there was a couple up there with their child, and that made me a little nervous. But but it was a gorgeous view up there. I think when we were on the bus tour, and that was one of the places that they said, okay, you can use the restroom here, but you have to pay to use the restroom.
Hmm.
So that way we went through this back little room into the shop, and I think we paid $1 to use the restroom or
Right.
something, but it was pretty cool. I think all of them, the chapel was gorgeous.
Hmm.
The California Lighthouse was very crowded. There were a lot of people visiting there. They took us along the shore too. We got out for a group picture.
Uh-huh.
And then, because the island has these beautiful beaches on one side, and then on the other side, the west side where the ocean is coming in, it's so different. It's like a contrast in nature. You've got
Definitely.
the crashing waves and the limestone and the caves and the little inlets and whatnot.
Hmm.
So that was fascinating to see the two different sides of the island.
Yeah, definitely. I love exploring the backside of the island.
Yeah, it was very cool. I loved all of it. It
Hmm.
was lovely. And they had the I believe when we were there, the first Disney ship was coming into port that
Okay.
day. So I know they have the cruise ships that come in as well and offer. I felt very safe in Aruba. I think that's another selling point for Aruba
Definitely.
that it's a night. I mean, I did not feel uncomfortable at all ever. Everything was fairly clean. People were very friendly. I love that they take American money.
Hmm.
They speak English. So there were lots of great qualities about Aruba.
Yeah, I think that those are the two big ones: the weather and the safety.
Right, right.
Because I've been to probably a dozen other islands, and I mean they're all great in their own way, but I don't think I've felt safe anywhere other than Aruba.
Right, right. I would agree with you.
So Beth, are you ready for the eye of the hurricane?
Ooh, yes, bring it on. I'm ready.
Now, as you know, Aruba lies below the hurricane belt, but on One Happy Podcast, we pick you up and drop you right in the center of one, which is where you'll be asked a series of tough questions that are meant to just give a little bit more insight into how Beth Johnston does Aruba, okay?
Okay.
Okay, finish this sentence. You know you're in Aruba when?
The white sand and turquoise waters greet your feet and eyes.
Awesome. Give me a no-brainer great time in Aruba.
Oh my gosh, a no-brainer, great time. I know some people like to gamble. It's not my thing, but I think that the casinos offer that option for those people that love to get out along with the nightlife there.
Definitely. What's the best kept secret in Aruba?
Oh wow, that's a good question. The best kept secret. I'm gonna go with Ocean Z since that was a big surprise to me. That little boutique hotel.
Definitely. Are there any special tools, apps, or resources you use to plan your trip to Aruba?
I used the Aruba Tourism Authority site. I think it's just aruba.com, and got a lot of information off of there.
You know what else is a great site to use?
Tell me.
Beth'sBeautifulGetaways.com.
Oh, awesome. Yes, of course.
Do you have something special that you would bring from home or pick up as soon as you arrive to Aruba to help take your vacation to the next level?
So I am one that loves to give back, and the Bikuti and Tara Resort offer a Pack for Purpose. And so what I did is I packed up a bunch of supplies for a children's home there for kids that, for whatever reason, don't live with their parents. And I packed it all up, took it with me in my suitcase, and dropped it off there. And so for me, that gives me a peace of mind that I'm giving back to the place that I'm visiting. And I just think our world needs a little bit more kindness.
You're 100% correct. That's awesome. What's missing from Aruba, or how do you think Aruba could be improved?
I don't think there's anything missing. I think people need to go into it understanding that it's a dry, arid island, and that there are the trade winds. You're going to have hair issues on the beach. I'm just saying.
One less thing you have to worry about.
Right, absolutely. Just pull it back.
That's right. So, if you were to visit Aruba again, what's something that you would look forward to checking off your bucket list?
Oh, I would really love to go snorkeling in Aruba. I missed that, and I hear they have awesome sites where you can snorkel all around the island, so that would be one of the things I would do next time I go.
Nice. This pertains to vacations in general, but what's your Aruba vacation superpower? Or basically, what do you do better in Aruba than anyone else?
I'm better in Aruba. I think that as a beach lover and a beach babe, just chilling on that beach, that Eagle Beach is just to die for. It really is. That's my superpower, just chilling on the beach.
Nice.
Drink in hand.
That's right. And what's your go-to drink?
I really enjoyed the Balashi beer. I had one, and then they made us some monkey drink at Bikuti that was really like an ice cream drink. That was pretty good too.
Nice.
My vacation drink to let me know that I'm on vacation when I go anywhere is a pina colada.
Yes, the gold standard.
Yes, it is.
Did you have any outstanding pina coladas on the island?
I had a good pina colada. I'm trying to remember where I had to have one because I was I was on vacation, sort of.
Right.
Of working vacation, so I had to have one. Yeah,
right.
It was good.
Nice. If given the chance, would you move to Aruba?
I would definitely consider that. I really would. I was impressed with Aruba. I did not think that I would enjoy it as much as I did, and I would certainly consider it.
Nice. Yeah, that's a tough question because there's a lot that goes into actually picking up and relocating to a Caribbean island.
Well, I watch those shows, like on the HGTV channel where they pick islands, and find a home on the island.
Yes.
And so, I haven't seen one on Aruba yet, but I definitely would consider that.
I interviewed a couple that was on one of those shows for Aruba.
Really? That's fascinating. Did they end up buying and relocating in Aruba?
No, well, they bought, but they didn't relocate.
Oh, they just used it as a second home.
Well, the funny thing with that is, no, they don't. They rented it out, but they were only planning on renting it out for vacations. But someone was relocating to the island and needed a year-long rental.
Okay.
So they ended up renting it out for the year. So whenever they travel to Aruba, which they do a few times a year, they can't stay at their own house. They stay at the timeshare resort.
That's another thing about Aruba. I've heard there's a lot of repeat visitors that go back to Aruba.
Yes.
Once they've gone, once you go, you go back.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's what we say. Once you go, you know.
There you go.
But
it is one happy island. It really
definitely. It's the most revisited island in the Caribbean.
Good to know. I can use that.
Mm-hmm. This is the final question of the Eye of a Hurricane. Okay.
All right.
It's a long one, so stick with me for a second.
Okay.
The people of Aruba have decided to lock you out of paradise. That's right, they're no longer allowing visitors to the island. However, since you were such a great guest, they decided to allow you to visit for one more day, all expenses paid. Beth Johnston, how do you spend your last day on the island of Aruba?
I would spend my last day at Ocean Z. I would take a picnic down to the beach and chill on the beach and do a little snorkeling and come back for a world-class dinner and watch the sunset from my balcony infinity pool.
Nice. Beautiful. Sounds like a perfect day.
I think so.
So this is the final question of the interview, okay?
Okay.
Right now there's probably someone listening that's on the fence about whether or not they should visit Aruba. So what would you say to that person to convince them that Aruba should be their next vacation destination?
So one of the things that I do with my clients is I talk about their must-haves. So any honeymoon couple or destination, what are your must-haves in wherever you want to travel to? So I would certainly ask them about their must-haves and then highlight those things that Aruba could offer them that are on their must-have list. Mm-hmm. So if they're looking for the most beautiful beaches, well, check that off. If they're looking for wonderful weather all year long, you can check that off. There are options like golf and casino and shopping and all of the restaurants, all the things that Aruba offers probably are on someone's must-have list that could certainly be highlighted for them to visit Aruba.
Now, before I let you get out of here, I want to make sure to get your information for anyone that might be in need of a travel designer. So,
all right.
I could tell them because I have a list here, but since you're here, you could probably tell them better than I could. So, where can we find you on the internet?
Right. If you just go to www.bethsbeautifulgetaways.com, you will find my website. And at the bottom of my website are all of my links to my Instagram, my Facebook, my LinkedIn, my Pinterest. All of that is linked at the bottom of my website. I also have a way for people to get in touch with me on the website. So please feel free.
Yes. And you do, you have awesome blog articles on your website.
I do a blog every couple weeks, and I was actually voted in the top 40 destination wedding blogs recently,
nice.
Which was kind of fun. I found that out when I was in Aruba, so that was kind of fun.
Well, congrats on that.
Thanks.
I want to thank you for joining me on One Happy Podcast.
Well, thank you for having me, Kurt. It's been a pleasure to be on here, and hopefully all of your listeners learned a little bit more about Aruba as well.
I know I did.
Okay. Thanks.
So thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So there you have it for episode 94 of One Happy Podcast, the officially unofficial podcast of the island of Aruba. I want to thank Beth Johnston for joining me on the show. And of course, I want to thank you guys for making all this worthwhile. Without your constant encouragement and feedback, there is no way I would have made it through 94 episodes of the show. So please do keep the comments coming because I really do enjoy hearing from you guys. And if you want to reach me, you can email me at kurt@onehappypodcast.com, or you can check me out on Facebook. The Facebook page is facebook.com/onehappypodcast. Check me out on Twitter at ArubaKurt, on Instagram at onehappypodcast. And of course, you can stop by onehappypodcast.com, which is the flagship for all things podcast related. There you'll find an archive of this and every other episode of the show, the show notes, and tons of other information. And speaking of show notes, you can find the show notes for this episode at onehappypodcast.com/EP94. And for those of you not familiar with the terminology, the show notes are basically a summarization of what we talked about during this episode of the podcast. I know some people like to see videos, some people like the, audible content, and some people like to read what's going on. So I try to have a little bit of everything for everybody. You'll notice that there's more video content going up. The podcast, which I love doing, they'll always be a constant. And I'm going to start doing a lot more written content as well. So look for that in the future. And just like always, if you have any suggestions, please do reach out to me because I love hearing from you guys. But that's all that I have for today. So until next time,
hit the music.